They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes it's thick, muddy, and dropped from 400 feet over a HOA picnic. My name's Cole. I'm a former Navy pilot turned crop duster, living on the farmland my father left me when he passed. The land's nothing fancy, but it's mine: open skies, honest work, and the kind of peace that comes from being your own boss. Or it used to be. That peace disappeared about a year ago when a group of wealthy city transplants decided to build a gated community right next to my east field. The place was everything I loathed: pastel-colored newsletters, decorative fountains, fake community gardens, and homeowners association meetings where people pretended they were doing something important. At first, I ignored it. Figured they'd stay on their turf and I'd stay on mine. Spoiler alert, they didn't. It started small complaints about noise from my crop duster. The thing's not exactly quiet, sure, but I fly under FAA regulations on my own land. Still, I'd get emails with subject lines like disturbance of neighborhood serenity and potential airspace intrusion. Always signed by one person, Denise Halford, HOA vice president. Self-declared neighborhood queen. Passive-aggressive emails, faux-concerned voicemails. You name it. She called my aircraft an eyesore, accused me of spraying chemicals near her property, and claimed I was endangering her kids. I tried to be civil. Showed her flight logs. Even offered to shift flight times to avoid their early morning yoga. She took my kindness as weakness. A week later, I came home from the feed store and found my hangar door open. My heart nearly stopped. The plane gone. A neon orange sticker fluttered on the back wall. HOA branded. Notice of abandonment: property removed for community safety. Community safety, my ass. I called every tow company in the region until I found the one who'd taken it. They handed me a bill for $1,500 and told me the governing neighborhood authority had authorized the tow. They towed my FAA-registered crop duster. Like it was an old junker Civic. No proper braces, no clearance. The tail assembly was bent. Paint was scraped clean off the undercarriage. I was livid. When I confronted the board, Denise greeted me like I was interrupting her brunch. Cole, she said with that syrupy tone, it's nothing personal. We thought the plane was abandoned. We have to think about the children. Planes do explode, you know? I told her I was pressing charges for theft and filing a complaint with the FAA. Her response? Go ahead. Let's see who they believe, a decorated mother of three or a man crop dusting his backyard. That was when I realized she wasn't just entitled. She was dangerous, and worse. She had an army of bored retirees behind her. So I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I started planning. A few days later, the HOA newsletter showed up in my mailbox. Full color spread. Celebrating community excellence at their upcoming annual picnic. Held right on the grassy strip between their property and my cornfield, the same field they claimed was an aesthetic liability. Front and center on the flyer, Denise. White dress, glass of rose, smiling like she was royalty. The quote below her picture read, "Our community deserves tranquility and class. Let's keep our skies clear and our standards high." That did it. I called my old Navy buddy, Ray, former engineer and occasional farmhand during harvest. I said, "You still have that barrel rig we used for emergency water drops overseas?" His answer, "I'll be over in an hour." We spent 2 days welding. Took an old irrigation tank, fitted a quick-release undercarriage, tested for balance. I filed a clean flight plan with the FAA altitude test over farmland. Legal. Documented. Bulletproof. The morning of the picnic, I took off at dawn. From high above, I could see it all: tables, balloons, a string quartet, even a snow cone machine. Denise was dressed in a blinding white dress again, her signature smugness radiating like a halo. She was holding court near the gazebo, basking in the attention. Then I saw it. A black SUV pulled into my driveway. No HOA logo. No plates. A guy in a suit stepped out with a clipboard. His posture wasn't Karen-level entitled, had that clipped, controlled energy of someone who walks into other people's lives with a badge or a subpoena. He stared directly at my hangar. I ducked into a cloud bank and held. I wasn't about to ruin everything with an unknown element on the ground. The picnic was still below me, but I had to reassess. I didn't like surprises. And the guy? He wasn't alone. A woman sat in the passenger seat with a full camcorder set up like they were filming a documentary. or gathering evidence. I circled once more, radioed in a holding pattern, and waited. That's when my radio crackled. November 876 Charlie, this is ground com 1. Do not proceed with agricultural dump. Repeat, hold action. Possible violation pending. Stand by for coordinates. That wasn't local law enforcement. That was a Fed-level frequency. I pulled up fast, climbed back into the clouds, and kept my distance. The crowd below never knew how close they'd come to becoming a mud-splattered footnote in HOA history. I landed back at my hangar, shaking. Not from fear adrenaline. And for the first time in a long time, unease. Someone out there knew what I was doing, and they had the authority to stop me. The next morning, a white envelope showed up. No return address. Inside was a photo of me mid-flight taken from ground level. On the back, written in red marker, nice altitude. Let's talk before someone calls the FAA for real. Message received. I shelved the plan for now. But Denise had no idea I was just shifting strategy. The next few weeks, I played the long game. Started flying at legal minimum altitude directly over the HOA community. Just enough to rattle windows, not enough to break rules. Mixed in harmless smoke trails for marking purposes. Conveniently passed over her backyard every Tuesday at 7:05 a.m. She filed more complaints. The FAA shrugged. I was well within my rights. Then came the motion at the board meeting. Denise wanted to hire a private aviation compliance investigator. Not someone with actual authority, just enough to dig, intimidate, and hopefully catch me on a technicality. I checked everything. My logs were clean. My inspections up to date. Still, it confirmed my theory. The SUV, the radio cowlet, wasn't federal. It was Denise trying to rattle me with theatrics and private contractors. Cute. So I started digging back. Turns out the HOA had been doing some shady bookkeeping, fining residents illegally, using HOA funds to pay for Denise's landscaping, billed as community beautification, even spa treatments under public wellness. I gathered every receipt, email, and document I could. Then I dropped it anonymously in the desk of the county compliance office. 2 weeks later, they hit the HOA with a surprise audit. The newsletter went silent. The wine socials stopped. Denise vanished from her porch swing. I knew it wasn't over. People like her don't give up. The regroup. So I prepped again. Same rig. Fresh mud. FAA flight plan filed. Altitude, timing, everything documented. Sunday, another picnic. Another smug speech from Denise about community harmony. At 11:17 a.m. I made my final pass. Pulled the lever. A barrel of thick irrigation mud fell like divine punishment. It hit dead center. The main tent collapsed in a glorious splash. Screams, chaos, folding chairs skidding, phones held aloft like sacrifices. And Denise? Full hit. Dress ruined. Hack on. Drenched in mud from collarbone to kitten heels. I didn't wave. I didn't gloat. I just flew north, silent, clean, and satisfied. By Monday, the lawsuits started. She accused me of intentional distress and aerial aggression, sued for $50,000 and tried to get me grounded. But I was ready. My attorney, Lena Quiet Shark in reading glass, filed a counterclaim. We presented FAA clearances, soil test results, and documentation of HOA violations. Under oath, Denise lied and we had the emails to prove otherwise. The judge? A retired farmer. He didn't take kindly to HOA power plays. Within a week, the HOA was dissolved. The board scattered. The community voted to govern independently. Denise sold her house and tried to restart in a fancy neighborhood 2 towns over. But mud sticks. And so does video footage. I took my settlement money and upgraded my hangar. Even added a second rig to the crop duster. You never know when inspiration might strike again. Sometimes justice isn't handed down in a courtroom. Sometimes it falls from the sky. And me? I don't hold grudges. I just fly over them with 300 gallons of legally sourced, agriculturally approved poetic justice.